Coffee.
Me too.
Company Coffee is right next door, and Angela is terrific.
Yeah.
It's a Christian-based company, and she's just one of the nicest people you ever meet. So, okay, before we get started, I want to tell everybody we are at the office in Sandpoint. This is a co-working facility, very conveniently located. They have office space that you can rent for a day or a month. They have a conference room, they have Wi-Fi, they have the greatest facility. So I want to give them a plug because they're terrific.
Wonderful place to work independently.
Yeah, I like doing interviews here. This is really cool. Okay. I am Sherry DeBali. I'm with Redoubt News. We are with John Alexander, Captain of the U.S. Militia. And we are here to talk with Danielle Ahrens, candidate for State Senate in District 1, Idaho. And Danielle, you've been doing really good, but it's not going to be easy today.
Oh, I know it. I know it, Sherry. But that's what I like about you.
That's right. We ask the hard
questions.
questions.
Say it like it is.
That's right. Absolutely. I'm going to give you, a few minutes to introduce yourself and say what you would like to say, and then we'll get to the questions.
Okay, thank you. Hi folks, I'm glad you could tune in today. My name's Danielle Ahrens. I'm running for the Senate up here in District 1, which is boundary in most of Bonner County. The thing that you will find with me, you vote for me, you will get effective experienced leadership. The last 10 years I've been very active locally in the community on different boards of directors with community groups and also in local politics, developing good, solid, conservative Christian leaders so that across the state we can start filling our offices on a local level and on a state level and even on a national level with these candidates. That's how you create change. So that's what I've been doing all along.
It's going again.
Did it crash?
Yeah, it crashed for a second. So
Yes. Still says interrupted. Are you running again?
it shows here I'm running again.
Okay, it's back up.
Okay. So I keep going.
It's okay. So just like our founding fathers said, we have to earn our liberty, we have to protect our freedom, and that's what I do every day. That's what I'll do for you. I'm retired. My 4 daughters are grown and they have families of their own, and so now this is my hometown mission. It's my passion to serve you, the people.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience and background and why you think you're qualified to be in the state senate?
Experience and background. Well, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology because I love people. I love to work with people. Business degree, AA degree. I also went to the police academy and the correctional officer academy. So I was also a police officer and a correctional officer. So I have been through the fire. I worked maximum security. I worked with Hell's Angels and different gangs, Aryan Brotherhood, all of that. And I was locked in a pod 12 hours a day with 76 hardcore men. And I didn't have a weapon, so I know I can stand. I've done it for years. I'm not going to be fearful. I will take the principles and values that I know and I will present them, and I will not bend because I have stood for years. Some of the things that I've done up here, I ran for precinct committeeman and got in with that. I ran for Bonner County Republican chairman. I served a term of that. Now I'm serving as your legislative District 1 Republican chairman. And I'm also on the board of directors for Bonner County Farm Bureau as government affairs chairman, Life Choices Pregnancy Center, and also Sandpoint Community Resource Center, as well as members of different groups such as Oath Keepers and different community groups around the district. And it's because I want to hear all different perspectives. To me, you have better solutions if you do that. I've taken a couple of Constitution classes, 3 now, because I want to make sure that when I swear that oath, I understand what I'm defending and exactly what the parameters are. And so that is very, very important to me, because we have God-given rights that are secured by our Constitution, but they cannot be infringed and they cannot be impinged. And that's what's happening right now. We have an incremental destruction of our Constitution.
Okay. I'm going to let John ask a couple of questions, and I'll come back with a couple of more.
Okay, Michelle. I'm Danielle, excuse me.
It's okay.
Apologies. I've got a couple questions for you. Donald Trump, how do you feel he is doing as our president?
He's doing a great job. I mean, everything's going really well, but he's having a few problems understanding the Constitution. Because a few of the things he's saying shows he's not in complete understanding of it.
Okay. For example?
For example, the talking about raising the age limit to 21 for the guns or the bump stocks or different things. Our rights shall not be infringed. So that's very concerning to me and a lot of other people I've talked to, that he is doing that.
Okay. How are you, as going into state senate, how would you approach these kind of matters?
Approach what kind of matters?
Well, with the bump stock laws for the state of Idaho.
No infringement, period, none. I've worked very closely with Greg Pruitt of Idaho Second Amendment Association. It's, Alliance, sorry.
It's okay. He'll correct me
Yes.
if I don't do it.
And I'm a lifetime member of the NRA, and being former law enforcement, this is a critical right we have to maintain. Not only do I have a right to defend myself and my family, but if we have a rogue government, if we have something come against us, we have to have that right to defend ourselves. It's critical that we cannot let that be taken away incrementally.
Okay. With the mass school shootings recently that we've all have seen on television, and the way they are trying to abolish the Constitution as we know it today, okay. What would you tell the people of Idaho that you're going to do differently as
So okay, we're good to go.
Apologize for the technical difficulties, folks, but Facebook has been very, very hard on us today.
Okay. So back to what we're talking about with all the gun laws and everything, where they're trying to ban our Constitution as we know it. For the state of Idaho, we have found so many different people in state offices and stuff that are willing to bend to try to accommodate, is what I'm getting at. In other words, they're going to try to appease people to get other things to go their way as well. What would you do differently from somebody that we have seen previously in office?
Well, I go back on my record, probably 4 to 5 years ago now, the first piece of legislation I wrote was saying that we can arm not only staff in our schools, but also classified staff. And when I took it down to the Republican winter meeting at that time to get it passed, I had the Attorney General supported me right away, and the Superintendent of Schools supported me right away. And so that came right out. We have to look at this differently. Just because someone has an issue, and it seems to be with mental illness or false flags, but just because they have that issue, that does not justify taking away your right, my right, and our rights to self-defense.
Right. One of the things that kind of concerns me, being the captain of the militia, and this has been brought to my attention several times from outside people, they're trying to pass these laws now to where you can pretty much say, well, I feel, this person needs a welfare check, and I feel they are, could possibly be a threat. Okay. So what that means, basically, under those kind of laws they're trying to pass, is that basically anybody that's militia is going to be considered a threat. Basically, is what I'm getting at, if you know where I'm going with this.
Yes.
Okay. So what would you do to help protect Idaho, the militia, the 3%ers, the citizens of Idaho, period? What would you do to protect us and our rights here in Idaho?
Well, what they're trying to do now is they're trying to put all these parameters. You shouldn't have a weapon because of this and this and this. And who's making those decisions? Who's deciding who's mentally ill? Who's deciding who's a threat? That is extremely concerning because it's one more way of impinging and taking away our Second Amendment rights. So I would not sign any legislation for that.
Okay. Would you try to encourage others to change what they're trying to start?
Absolutely. That's one of the things I do each session. I'll go down with a lot of new legislators that I've helped get into office, and I'll educate them on the Constitution or the different rights that we're looking at and what parameter, what matrix they should be looking at this legislation through.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I know that you have explained you are pro Second Amendment, and I know from talking to you previously that you're pro-life, and you're on Life Choices Pregnancy Center board. And,
Yes.
And there are other points that we're going to be bringing up. I would like you to prioritize, and this is a kind of a two-part question, but I need you to get through this part first. I'd like you to prioritize what you think are the most important points, the top 3, for example, in the state of Idaho. Is it Second Amendment? Is it pro-life? Is it something else?
The top issue I would say is Second Amendment because without that ability, you have no way to protect life.
Okay.
And when you're in the Constitution, you have life, liberty, and property. And without those 3, you don't stand. It's critical.
Okay, what would you say would be the next couple of them? Like I said, if we went for the top 3 issues in Idaho, what do you think they'd be?
I would say Second Amendment to preserve life, and then property. And all 3 are together. You need all 3.
Okay. Now, we know that in Boise, as well as everywhere else around the country you find a politician, there's a lot of compromise that goes on. Okay? Say you write a bill or you support a bill that is extremely pro-Second Amendment. You never make deals.
I'm sure.
Okay, we're good to go.
Okay. No, the reason I'm saying that is because everybody tells me they don't make deals, and then the next thing you know, they're making deals. Okay?
I've made deals in my personal life, but I haven't been elected into office.
One of the things that I was asked to discuss with you today. You have 2 major opponents. One of them is very left. One of them is extreme right. And you're considered a bit of a centrist.
Isn't that amazing?
No, I'm telling you right up front. I'm gonna let you respond to this. You're considered a bit of a centrist, kind of, ready to make deals, with the establishment. How do you respond to this?
That's a sad narrative that is out there, if that's what's out there, because I've shown through my work for the last year after year after year that I'm not like that. I don't compromise. I have principles.
But if you've got the establishment on your speed dial and ready to call them first, you see where they're going with this.
Right.
Okay, that's what I want you to respond to. The fact that, you are able to call anybody, but what does that mean? Okay.
What that means is if you have relationships with people and you see work coming up through the lines, you can knock on the doors, you can call those people, and you can say, look, there's an issue with this bill. These are the unintended consequences. This is where it's crossing the Constitution. These are the problems with this bill. I won't co-sponsor it. I won't vote for it. This is what we need to do. And so that affords me the opportunity to go in and educate them on different issues.
Okay.
So kind of as a good example, like we see President Trump today, okay? President Trump, in order to build this wall, they're trying to compromise, and we know that. Part of it, is bump stock, different issues, immigration, trying to get him to bend a little bit to give some back. I understand there is things called negotiations in a right way and a wrong way. How would you rate how he's handling it as our president right now, with how he's handling the negotiations?
From what I've seen, he's really good at a lot of rhetoric, but I'm looking at what he's producing. And he's already produced in the first year 65% of his agenda that he ran on. So I'm going to look, Will Rogers had a saying, your action speaks so loud they can't hear a word you say. So I'm going to look at what is being produced rather than what he's saying. Because he'll say a lot of things at the negotiating table as we see, but then I'll see what he's doing over here. What's he signing? What's actually being produced?
Okay. So
Let me hit a couple of bullet points while you take a look through your notes.
thank
How's
you.
that?
Go ahead.
I'm going to let you continue on the list, but let's start with a couple of them here. Refugees.
No.
No at all, ever?
What I am seeing with the refugees is they bring these people in through private companies, and these private companies are making profits off of bringing these refugees in. And then they dump them into communities, and it's on you and I as the taxpayer now to feed them, to house them, to hire special teachers that speak their languages. And it's a way to break down our communities that we can hardly afford to keep going ourselves. So I see it as part of a bigger picture and nefarious. I would not say no refugees ever, but what I'm seeing and experienced firsthand is a problem. When I've talked to refugees down in Boise, they say that people came into their camps and told them all sorts of promises. Then they get on the planes, they have thousands of dollars in airplane fees that they have to pay back. And it's nothing like they were told when they get here.
Do you see the definition of refugees being what they're telling you it is? I mean, I always thought refugees was from a war-torn country. That
Right.
literally, I mean, you get people that, you know, are half dead over here and, you know, barefoot and half
Right.
dressed, but that's not what we're seeing coming in. So
Right.
are they refugees or are they just another type of immigrant?
And that's my question. I love people, but you cannot have unlimited immigration into your country. You have to have language, culture, and borders. And we have to keep our country strong. And I'm watching this influx into particular.
Okay, keep going.
I see this influx of refugees, particularly into very conservative areas. And so I think there could be another agenda with that placement. To me, it's almost like human trafficking when you have private corporations making money off of these per head.
And we do have that problem with this.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of people making some really good money.
Right.
I think I'm in the wrong business. Okay, next bullet point. Federal lands versus
Federal.
state lands.
Federal lands. One of the best things that I've done is contact George Wentz, and he has been tutoring me and educating me on the federal lands. And he is the attorney that is taking the case for Utah to the Supreme Court. So
I know the DeVillier group well.
okay.
They're terrific.
So I have a great resource, which I do throughout the campaign. I can't know everything, so I try to find experts in the field that I can call or talk to anytime to educate me on the issues. So I know. But his take on it right now is we need to get our management of our lands back because 65% of our state is federal. And so with that...
Okay, stop right there. I don't want his take. I want your take.
Okay.
Seriously. Do you want to just manage federal lands? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I want to take some of them. I don't want to say take them back because they were never the federal governments in the first place. But I want equal rights as a state. I go to these commissioner meetings. I go to these different groups and see how they're suffering. And the schools and everything else because they can't fund anything adequately because we don't have control of our lands. We can't use the resources. We can't access our land. And that makes it very unequal rights for us compared to, say, New York.
Do you understand the equal footing doctrine?
I think so, yes.
You think so?
I think so, yes.
Okay, the way I understand the equal footing doctrine, our state lands, our public land should never have gone, stayed with the feds. It should have gone back to our state when
Correct.
we became a state.
Correct, and most of the lands most of the states west of Mississippi, and would say it, that happened to us. And so we're not equal citizens with the ones back in the East Coast.
Right.
Like New York has 1/4 of 1% federal land.
Right.
Well, so when they want to take high-speed internet through their state, they just do it. Try to do it in Idaho, and we're checkerboard. Companies can't afford to come in here and do that. So our citizens are on a very unequal footing.
Okay.
One of our concerning things that we have, I know you're familiar with the Bundy Ranch standoff,
Yes,
okay, in the Mather up in Oregon.
yes.
And right now, with the way everything's going, we're getting ready, it looks like they have the same issues over on the Snake River area with those other ranchers.
Yes.
Our lands are being seized as we speak on a daily basis. What would you bring to the table to help put a stop to these illegal seizures?
Number one thing I do on Facebook, because I'm very active, I have about 2,600 people, but I post 4 or 5 times a day at least, and it's educating people. I shared about the Western Wildlands Project, and I had 519 shares off that all over the United States. It's educating people as to what's happening. A lot of people don't know what's happening. And as part of the Agenda 2030 and the regionalization, they are systematically kicking our ranchers and our farmers off of the lands. And if you're killing the rural area, then you start controlling the food and the water sources. And you're starting to get people more into the areas of mass density, like the cities and towns.
Okay. But I'm going to ask again, though, what would you do to help put a
You
stop?
want some specific
What's some specific
What's your
plans
plan?
that would put a stop to these kind of illegal seizures that you could bring to the state senate?
Well, it would have to be, per the 10th Amendment, what's happening in my state. So if it's happening in Idaho, I would have a direct effect on it. And I would come in however I could, and if I couldn't do it, I would contact the local authorities that could do it, say the sheriff in that area, and help them stand against those feds coming in and seizing that property.
Okay.
Just like they should have done for the Bundys, just like they should have done for the Hammonds.
Right. Well, as we see, the Bundys got dismissed with prejudice.
Right.
Okay. Everybody has been released. Do you have it?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you know Todd, Danielle?
No, but I know he was a member of the Oath Keepers.
So here's my question. Todd Ingalls, okay. This is another concern of us in the militia, as well as a lot of people in Idaho.
Right.
Todd Ingalls is still incarcerated
Correct.
to this day, despite the corrupt law enforcement, FBI, the corrupt legal system behind it that was withholding evidence. That's why it was all released. They were all released with prejudice, but yet they choose to keep Todd Ingalls incarcerated. Would you, as a state senate, be willing to step up to the plate for Todd Ingalls as well?
Yes, he's my constituent.
Okay. Well, I'm asking you these questions.
Yes.
And what would you be able to bring to try to help Todd Ingalls?
The first thing I would do is talk to Dorothy Moon, since she was the one that wrote up the legislation before and then took it to Rao Labrador to present to Jeff Sessions. So I consult with Dorothy, since she's more educated on the issue as to what I could do and what I couldn't do. And I'd work with Dorothy Moon.
I know as a state senate, you only have so much you're able to do on that
Right.
end. I understand that. I'm just asking if you would be able to
Whatever
do,
I could.
whatever you could
Absolutely.
do to help them.
Yes.
So, go ahead.
I apologize if it seems like we're tag teaming you here.
That's
we each have our own issues that we're focusing on. I'm going to bring it back down to some issues that I look at with every candidate. Tell me about some of your donors. How many of them are out of state, in percentage-wise versus in-state? Do you have a lot of PACs donating to you? Do you have? Well, these are issues that a lot of people don't think about, and I do not have your sunshine report in front of me. But I will find it and give a link to everybody in the comments later. Go ahead and tell me what you got.
I think most of them are locals because I've asked friends that I've worked with over the years who've known me. Most of it's self-funding, which is very hard to do, but I've been self-funding.
I don't think I could afford it.
It's taken everything I have. But I think the only out-of-state donation I have is my sister-in-law who lives in Virginia.
Really?
But she's my sister-in-law.
Well, yeah, that's I like seeing that. I like seeing most of the donations coming from within the state.
Right.
I do have a problem with somebody who has a lot of donations from outside the state.
I don't have any PAC money at all.
None.
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you have any professional lobbyists or anybody else on your team that we need to know about before it hits me later?
No. My campaign manager is Brady Smith, who's with Patriot Academy.
Oh, good. I love Patriot Academy. I'll tell you all about that. Patriot Academy, my youngest daughter has been a part of that for many years. She has learned a lot of life skills, and she learns the Constitution, and she learns how government works. Y'all need to check into it. It's a great program all the way up until, I think, 26 years old.
Yes, and they are growing leaders with integrity. It's vital because we have to keep that conservative pipeline of educated individuals full.
Yeah.
To run at every single level. It's the only way we'll get the country back.
Absolutely.
And on March 8th of this year, we had the World Relief Organization that came in for the refugees. And you brought up a couple things to where we just spoke about. And so you would be okay with a certain amount of different refugees coming into the country, is that correct?
They would have to be coming in from a war-torn area and just...
The way it's doing now?
It's not with the parameters that it's doing now, because I don't see Christians coming in at all. There's hardly any Christians that are being brought across.
Okay.
So I see it as more agendized.
So do you feel that right now they're doing the proper screening, bringing these refugees in?
No.
And what flaws are you seeing?
Well, it's like years ago when they brought them into Ellis Island. You were asked many different questions. Were you willing to assimilate? What did you think? Many different questions, and it was more of a merit-based bringing in. What do you have to offer? And that's also for immigration too.
The refugees that they're bringing in right now, they have made it more than clear that these refugees are basically impossible to screen them. The FBI has made that clear in several different reports they have come across with. Are you aware of this?
Yes.
Okay. So with being okay to bring in these any refugee at this point in time from these war-torn countries, I struggle with that.
Yes.
And that's why I'm questioning you here today regarding it, because I want to know your stance on it. And I'm going to tell you why I struggle with it. Okay, Fox News has covered many stories on this. Okay, and in their stories, they're showing the Muslim camp, several Muslim camps across America right now, as close as Spokane area. Mm-hmm. Okay, these are training camps, training them how to kill people. So, but yet they're wanting to bring in more refugees right now into our area, but yet they don't have a way to screen these people. That becomes a concern to me.
Exactly.
But it should become a concern to all of Idaho. Because if you've got these training camps that are actively training to kill Americans, why on God's earth are we bringing these people into our country?
Exactly. It's like if you were in your home and someone knocked on the door and you don't know who they are or what threat they represent to your family. Are you just bringing them in and giving them a bedroom and feeding them? No, nobody would do that because you love your family. You lock your door to keep them safe. It's the same thing we should be doing with America.
So how would you, if you're going to be okay with bringing certain ones in, how would you better screen these ones that you're wanting, that you're saying?
But she hasn't said yet that she's willing to
Well,
bring
well,
them in now.
But what I'm getting at though is, what would you suggest for screening them?
To me, if I were on the federal level, which I'm not, I'm state, but
Right.
if I were on the federal level, I would have to have some way of verifying who they are, their background, something tangible and provable. I'm not going to bring an unknown into my country
Right.
because I don't know what kind of threat I'm reporting to myself and my fellow Americans.
Okay. So if
Okay, he's got some good points though, and on the state level, and I apologize for
That's all right.
On the state level, you hear a lot of places around the country, granted some of them are in occupied territory, California, but they're talking sanctuary cities, sanctuary states.
Yes.
Tell us what you can do at the state level to stop that.
To me, you would nullify that. If somebody tried to bring that up or set that up, you would nullify it.
And would you be willing to fight for nullification on that?
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. That's one of our tools that we were given to use
Okay.
by the founding fathers.
May I do a couple other
Yeah,
bullet points?
that's why I was asking these questions. I want to find out where you stand on this, what you'd be wanting to do to protect us here in Idaho.
Whatever I have to.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to throw a couple more bullet points at you.
Sure.
Healthcare.
What about healthcare?
All right. No, you know where I'm going with this. Our care has really kind of gone.
I won't assume anything.
Okay. Tell me how you feel about Idaho healthcare and what you want to do about it.
I don't.
Our care, specifically.
Well, I could speak to the latest bill that's being
Medicare
tried to brought
expansion,
through.
yes.
To me, I see it as a health insurance company bailout. They're just taking out the people that are costing the most and putting on us, the taxpayers, through Medicare. And so I don't see that as right.
What would you do to fix it?
Does it need to be fixed?
Well, my personal opinion is government should never be involved in healthcare, period.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
why we're in the mess we're in.
Okay, as a state senator, could you introduce bills to get us out of that, or is that federally mandated that people don't want to give up the money coming in? I mean, what are we looking at here?
That's a good question. How much of a federal contract have we gotten ourselves into? What did the governor provide as a nexus to trap us into?
Exactly.
I would have to do more research on that, but yes, I would.
Okay.
Because the more that we're dependent on the feds, the more that we're a welfare state, the more we're dictated to and oppressed as to what we can and can't do.
Idaho is currently the reddest state in the nation, as so is reported, and it's coming from places like the left coast.
Yes.
Okay, how do you see that? Is that a good thing or a bad thing, being so fast growing?
I have reservations why it's growing so fast. Is it because people are coming in with an agenda to try to turn us purple? They saw how red we were. And now you are seeing groups springing up all over in all of our communities to implement regional planning or conservation groups or this or that. They're under all different names and their names morph all the time. But to me, I see as part of that is an agenda to come in and change us.
Okay, Yellowstone to Yukon.
That was a wildlands project that I just posted about the Y2K. And basically what it is different groups, green groups or whatever they're termed at this point. They're just buying up land to interconnect a corridor all the way up.
Right. You can go to readoutnews.com and find out a lot about that. We got some great people reporting on that one, if you're curious about it. And I just threw my head out of the one I was going to bring up next. Okay, global warming.
Well, there's weather and it's always changing. I've shoveled global warming all winter. That I do not.
Okay. Common Core.
Common Core was a failure. Even Bill Gates said, well, it was a mistake. Wasn't that nice? It cost us a whole generation of kids.
Yes, it did. What
It
is
was a
Idaho
terrible
doing
mistake.
about it, and what would you like to see Idaho do about it?
Totally eliminated. It didn't work. It was brought in as an idea, and I think, again, these ideas that are brought in from a federal level into the state, that's wrong. They should not be dictating to us how we raise our kids. That's a local issue at our local school boards and in our communities, because we know best the way to teach our kids in our areas. What works 3,000 miles away is not going to work here.
Yeah, well, when they dangle that federal money carrot, you gotta admit, there's a lot of people down in Boise in positions similar to the one you're going after that look at that federal carrot, and it's hard to say no. How can we be assured that they aren't going to come up and lobby you? Tell us some more, how strong you can be against those people.
Well, every year when I go down in the legislature, I see tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of surplus funds every year. And then those are appropriated into all these special projects. Why do we have a surplus every year? Why are we taking federal money if we have a surplus every year?
That's a very good question.
But it is critical that we get back management and our lands. Because if we can't raise the money ourselves, or if we're not letting the free market do its job, and having those businesses help support communities through different things, if we can't do that, how do we provide our people with the freedom to operate like they need to be? I mean, we don't guarantee equal outcomes, but most of us have equal opportunities.
It's a point well made. I do have a follow-up thing though. If you get state senate, okay, if you ever find yourself stuck between voting your conscience or voting the will of the people, how would you vote?
Well, I wouldn't vote either because my first parameter is it constitutional? That's the first thing I look at. So I'm going to take emotion out of it. Is it constitutional? Who's going to pay for it? How is it funded? I have certain parameters I'm going to look at every piece of legislation.
Okay.
We are a representative republic. We're not a democracy. So you might have a preponderance of people that want something, but it doesn't mean it's constitutional.
Okay. So, go ahead, Sherry.
I've just about gone through my list. I'm waiting to have you check that. I just went over and checked to see if we had any questions in the chat room
Nope. Most of them are just frustrated with the
with Facebook.
Facebook technical issues.
And I do apologize for that. I suppose I should have gone to YouTube first, but it's definitely worth a try.
I guess
Okay, go back.
Okay.
Are you part of the militia?
Yes.
Are you part of more than one militia?
Yes.
Can you tell us which ones you're a part of and which meetings you go to?
The Idaho militia and the U.S. militia.
And how many types of the militia meetings do you go to? I mean, not necessarily on an every week basis, but...
Have I gone to militia meetings?
Yes.
Yes. When we had the Northern Lightfoot up here, probably about 5 years ago.
Okay, and other groups that are similar to militia but not necessarily classified as militia. You attend Oath Keepers?
Yes.
Are there any other groups that you attend that...
Three percenters.
You do
Yes.
attend 3 percenters?
Yes.
Okay. Well, guess what? You're going to be attending some U.S. Militia Northern Command meetings.
Outstanding. Outstanding. I'll make the draw.
So a lot of people have been really trying to paint, especially the media. We were up at the especially like the refuge event. the media turned around and tried to paint a bad picture of this militia of 3%ers, saying that we were there being hostile and everything in the book. I actually had law enforcement show up right at the tail end. We had actually live video that showed differently. I was actually the one filming it, which kind of really helped go against what they're trying to say what they're doing. Were you at that event?
No, I was not.
Okay.
Trying to stay up here campaigning every minute I have.
I understand. So, I guess where I'm going with this is constantly every day we're finding the left side is trying to paint such an ugly picture of us all.
Right.
Anybody that's Constitution, they're painting us as being terrorists, KKK, everything in the book. Would you help represent the people of Idaho in a manner of saying that's not what we're about and who we are for the ones that you know of?
Absolutely. What the left's tactics are is they try to define the narrative, and it's up to us to take that narrative back.
Okay, so let's talk readouter.
Yes.
The only definition I know of a readouter is somebody comes to my site and reads it. Okay. But the left has taken that term, and I have yet to get any of them to define it. Not one of them will define it. They just say it's a bad thing. Have you gotten anybody to define it, and what does it mean to you?
To me, it's a proud term. It means God, family, and country. Redoubt just means a geographical area of common interests. And yes, people are flocking up here because no matter where you live, my minor was cultural geography, so we're all tribal. So no matter where you live, it's like in San Francisco, people of like-mindedness go there to live. People of the redoubt come up here because we have similar values. It's not a bad thing. It's what people have done for thousands of years. But the redoubt, all that means is
Conservative Christian.
Conservative Christians, right? And I'm proud to be that.
Okay.
You have a question to ask.
We have
Have you
questions?
seen the H.R. 5087 introduced by Congress member David Cicleen?
I have not read the entire bill, but I have seen it referred to on Facebook.
Do you know which bill they're talking
Is
about?
that the assault gun ban bill?
I have no idea. That's all
I
they
believe
posted.
it is.
Okay. And then this is a House bill trying to ban assault weapons in Idaho.
H.R. 5087.
H.R.
I believe that's what it is.
5087.
And I am against anything that tries to ban any of our Second Amendment rights, any of our guns, any of that is no. It's an automatically no.
Yeah, they're pushing it hard right now.
Because next it will be bolt action rifles saying they're sniper weapons. It will never end.
Okay, what about medical marijuana? We're moving on to more bullet points. Medical marijuana and CBD oil.
CBD oil, I support. If I had a child seizing like these parents that I've talked to, how horrific that they're being denied that to help their children. And the bill that Dorothy New wrote should have gone through. That's what I thought. It's a salt ban.
Okay. All right. Marijuana, either medical or recreational. How do you feel?
I would not legalize marijuana, medical or legal. I have recreational. I have too many members in law enforcement in my family that have dealt with the repercussions of this, and also being part of law enforcement. I saw too much damage, just too much damage. But the CBD oil, the non-THC or THC-free oil, yes. I know many people it's helped with their arthritis, lots of aches and pains. If we're really concerned about this opioid epidemic, which is making tons of money for Big Pharma, we're going to look to a plant-based solution that has no side effects.
Okay,
I have a question about that.
go ahead. Yes.
So, if you're against medical marijuana, right? But the alternative to that for pain for people that suffer from major pain is get hooked on pain pills instead of using medical marijuana, for instance. I'm not for marijuana for everybody and teenagers and kids and whatever.
Right.
But you think a woman sitting at home that's suffering with a lot of pain should go to jail in Idaho because she has pot instead of because she doesn't want to be hooked on pain pills to deal with the extreme pain that she deals with.
And I totally can sympathize with that because I was in a car accident 5 years ago. It broke my neck and lower back. So I have 7 titanium plates in my spine. So I totally understand the pain. But the problem...
Are you hooked on pills?
No.
Are you hooked on medical marijuana?
But coffee is really good.
Well, you know,
I just keep busy.
That's like blood in my vein.
The concern I had was in California when they started making it, they called it medical marijuana, but then they lost control of it and it just, everyone started into it. So I had real concerns about that. But I'm also watching a lot of the research that they're doing in Israel. They're doing cutting edge research on marijuana because we don't do it here in the United States.
But should that lady have to go to jail, lose her gun rights, because instead of taking pain pills, she smokes a little weed in the morning to get out of bed?
Are you asking about any illegalities, or are you asking about felony versus misdemeanor?
Well, I'm talking about she has a handgun, she has a bag of weed. She goes to jail, loses her gun rights, but the only reason why she uses the weed is just so she can get out of bed and take care of her family because of the pain, because she refuses to get hooked on pain pills. I mean, should she really be incarcerated for that situation and lose her rights?
That's a good question, Danielle.
It is a good question. As far as I know, if she was caught with a certain amount of pot, it'd be a misdemeanor. So she wouldn't lose her gun rights. It's only if you're convicted of a felony.
And what does it take to be a felony on marijuana in Idaho? Do you know?
No, I would have to research that
Okay.
because it changes constantly.
Well, things like this that you're going to look into, and if you post current Idaho law, it takes, 12 pounds to be a felony.
Yeah.
Post it.
Okay.
That's what people want to see. They want to know
The
that you're
facts.
engaged enough to give them the actual facts on that.
Okay.
Sorry.
You got to say something?
Along the medical marijuana, I also heard today that these children that are suffering also need the marijuana, not just the CBD. Well, they need the marijuana to go along with it. So if that's not passed, they wouldn't be helped out either.
That is the CBD with and without the THC, correct?
With the THC.
Okay. Yeah, that is, but you've weighed in on, you thought Dorothy's bill should have passed.
Yes. Yes. I think she did a good job. There were some concerns with it. She addressed it, and I think it was fine after she addressed it.
Okay.
Can you share what those concerns were?
Well, people were very concerned that you would have to register and have a card, and then they were looking at different states where they can use those cards now, like California, and start to take away your Second Amendment rights. And so people were very concerned that we're going down that road.
Okay. And you don't feel we were?
Not after she addressed the issues. I felt that it was good.
After it got changed.
Right. I would have supported pots in the Senate when it came to that.
On the open meeting laws and the fact that the Senate went down into the back room to discuss that bill, and so many people are like, come on, they need to be able to talk about it, What do you think?
I think transparency is critical, not only for the public, but for the legislators. Because many times if it's not transparent, you can get roped into something. So
Okay, so do you
transparency
think
is
Senator
critical.
Hyder should be held accountable for his actions in that mess?
I wasn't there. I don't know
Oh,
exactly.
come on.
Well,
I just gave you it out, and then you jumped right on the transparency issue. So I'm asking you if you should have been held accountable for the lack of transparency.
I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what was said. But saying that, you should always have open meetings. Any transparency, you've got to know what's going on, good, bad, or otherwise.
Do you think, what kind of accountability should elected officials have when they break the rules?
Well, it depends what's written up, but you should have repercussions. Most of the things, if you break a rule or something, there is a consequence, and there should always be consequences.
So if somebody were to suggest something for consequences, you would be supportive of that?
It depends on what it was. I'd have to see how it's written out.
Okay, well, fair enough. But if somebody suggests a bill that would hold elected officials at any level accountable for some of their actions, you would seriously look at it in a way of, yeah, they need to be.
Absolutely, because
Okay.
if you're not accountable, a lot of people will just do as they will.
Okay, so how do you feel about term limits?
Term limits. That is interesting. I would hope that people would term limit themselves out, because that's an integrity issue. I don't think there should ever be any kind of retirement benefits for politicians, because you've become self-serving. And the term limits our founding fathers said are supposed to be at the ballot box.
Okay, and the next thing, do you think the elected officials in Boise are getting paid too much? Or too little?
Well, they're getting paid about $17,000 a year. So I
Is
think
that senators or representatives?
both.
They get the same?
Yes.
I thought Senate got more.
I don't think so. I think it's the same.
All right.
That's really hard to, I know they say it's a part-time job that's 90 days when you're in session, but to be a really good representative or senator for the people, it is 24/7. You are constant, your constituents expect you to constantly be doing things. And to try to do it for 90 days when you're down there and that's it.
All right, 17,000, that's the cash take home. What about benefits? Do they get any of that?
I know they get a per diem per day, and I think that's $122 for their food and lodging during session. Other than that, I don't know.
Okay.
Under what scenario would you not support the Second Amendment? Yeah,
0.
0. Okay.
What about First Amendment? How many? Okay, we're gonna do a constitution quiz. Let's see how good she's passed. She says she took 3 constitution classes. How many rights are in the First Amendment?
I don't know.
You failed your class.
Oh.
Okay, the First Amendment guarantees, does not grant, guarantees 5 different rights. Do you understand what I mean?
I better look at my purse and bring
No,
it up.
you're not. You're gonna name them. You're gonna name them. What are the rights that? Okay, get your purse out. I'll let you
Yes,
do it.
thank you. Where is it there?
It's over there. But ooh, I think that was your phone. I'm sorry. If you're going to pull out your Constitution, you're going to start going through that Bill of Rights and telling me how you feel about the state of Idaho on this right, that right, and the other. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. And I already got you on not passing.
Yes.
I'm going to talk to Mike Pierce, and I'm going to talk to Sherry over at Old Town. I know. To the people who gave you your class.
Yes.
Okay.
Go right back up.
Okay. Now you've refreshed your memory.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. I am a journalist. I want free speech and free press. Do you see any scenarios in which Idaho should take that away from me?
No.
Ever?
Well, are you harming someone? I don't see that we can abridge your freedom of speech. I may not like what you say, You can't take it away,
You can say that, but people have been thrown into jail
right?
for protesting.
Right.
Isn't that a form of free speech?
It is a form of free speech. Protesting is patriotic, but from the cases that I've known when they've been thrown in jail, it's because they caused property damage, they hurt someone.
Come back up to speed, Danielle. We're talking Bunkerville now.
Okay.
That was
well,
a protest.
Yeah, and that was
Malheur was a protest.
right.
The only
And
damage
those
done
were-
in Malheur, I can tell you,
Right.
based on the videos that I've seen, that the protesters did not do that.
And locking them up was unconstitutional.
That's right.
Right.
Okay. So, like I said, the government sees things differently than I see them.
Exactly.
Okay. Can you name the rest of the rights in the First Amendment?
So
And
The
I'm going to
speech
ask
that-
you again tomorrow without your Constitution in your hand.
you try to go through a tag team interview for an hour and remember
You're
everything.
right. That's right. You would break.
Freedom of speech, press, the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
And religion.
Yes.
I do have an important question I'd like to ask.
Sure.
Exactly what kind of support would you provide for Idaho schools?
Well, per our Constitution, the legislature is supposed to adequately fund the schools. And what is happening now is the schools are having to ask for these levies, and it's tearing the communities up because it's a constant fight every 24 months between the community trying to fund these schools. So the funding needs to go back to the state, and the state needs to fund the schools adequately. We should not have these backbreaking levies on the taxpayers.
Okay.
Because kids are getting unequal educations because, say, in Blaine County, where they're getting $18,000 a student because it's the Sun Valley area, and you have far more taxes, and then you go up to a rural county like Boundary, where they're getting $7,000 or $8,000 per student.
Let me expand on that if I may. You're talking about these levies. There was a bill that was introduced this session on the levies, basically telling them if you get a no vote, you got to wait a year, if I remember right.
Right.
Would you introduce and or support a bill like that again?
Absolutely. We're not getting the voter turnout that we want because it's becoming too difficult for the voters who are working to vote every 90 days on these bills that just keep, or these levies that keep being brought up over and over again until they pass. It should be either in May or November.
Well, my problem with it is the fact that the voters say no, and the taxing district has their opportunity to say no. We're going to keep hammering you until you give it.
Exactly.
Give in. If it's no, it's no. That's my issue. If it's no, no means no.
But how long does no mean no is what they want to know.
Exactly. You know, 90 days doesn't cut it.
But they shouldn't even have to ask. It shouldn't even be part of it. They should be funded at the point that they don't come to us for levies.
There you go. That's it. Do you have any other questions, Joe?
No, I think we've covered it pretty much.
I think we've done a really good job, and I think, you know, I have to give you a lot of credit for putting up with us like that. Would you like a couple of minutes to say a closing remark to everybody?
Sure.
Go right ahead.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. Even though we had a lot of technical difficulties, I'm glad that you took the time just to listen and hear what I have to say. My home phone is 208-610-8894. So if you have any questions, call me up. Email me, DanielleAhrens@gmail.com. Message me on Facebook. I'm always on there too. Anything you want, we'll meet for coffee, we'll talk. I am always here to listen to you, and I feel it's my duty to serve the people. So I appreciate you joining us, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
I'm going to close it up here. Hold on. Don't stop yet. This is...
Hold on, it stopped on its own.
It stopped on its own. I don't think it stopped on its own. I think Facebook said, uh-oh, Sherry's back up there.
All right, it's ready to go.
Okay, here's her card. Go to her website, Ahrens for Idaho, Senate District 1. And it's ahrensforidaho.com. Okay, she's got a lot of information on there. I want to thank everybody for bearing with us on this Facebook Live. I may just end up going over to YouTube all the time because of the way Facebook is hammering us, but we'll see. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Danielle for putting up with our tag teaming on her. I want to thank Anita Orred for allowing us the use of her conference room here at the office in Sandpoint. It's a great place. Y'all really need to come down and check this place out. If you need off space for just a day, this is the place to be. Yeah, she has a great co-working site here. But we're going to try and bring you some other interviews as well. It's very important that everybody stay engaged and stay informed. And if you have other questions, give her a call. She'll be there.
Yep.
She's pretty good at that. Thank you. It's Readout News, REDOUBTNEWS, readoutnews.com. Thank you.